Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second part of this week's episode of Let's Talk Football. We are joined by our guest this week, Jon Conti. Very nice to meet you, my friend. Welcome to the show.
How you doing,
Thank you
pal?
guys
Thank
for
you so
having
much for
me.
being
Thank
here.
you guys. I appreciate for having me.
Thank you
Good.
so much, man. So, hey, thank you for joining us. Would you be able to tell our audience, like, what is your team that you're a fan of?
All right, so basically, I'm a New Yorker, and unfortunately for us New Yorkers, we have very bad teams. We have very bad football teams. It's a hard truth that we've all had to come by, and it's a very painful truth. So, me personally, I'm a New York Jets fan, and it
Mm.
has not been a fun season, let me tell you, at all.
Oh man.
Yeah, that it's just the pain that this season has brought to me has been unlike any other season that I've watched. And I've been watching football for a long time. I remember back in 2010, 2011 when we had Mark Sanchez and we made it to the AFC championship and we thought, "Oh, it's all going to be great." Then a little guy over there in New England named Tom Brady had to just come on, roll, and burst the bubble. And then everyone obviously knows what happens after that, the infamous butt fumble. And us Jet fans, we thought, oh, it couldn't get worse after that. It could not get any worse after the butt fumble. We get Aaron Rodgers to a young core team that was having a great season. We went, 9-7, I think in 2022, I remember, with Zach Wilson at quarterback, Robert Saleh. We were one quarterback away, air quotes, one quarterback away. And what do? We signed a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. And we think, oh, our answers are finally prayed. Our prayers are finally answered. And what happens? The meltdown, the crash down. We win the first two out of 3 weeks. We went 2-1, and we thought everything was going to be good. We thought our season was still alive, but then what happened? The Jets start to jet once again. They start to jet. They lose. They fire Saleh. They trade for Adams, thinking he's going to be the savior. But no, we keep losing. Aaron Rodgers said Devontae Adams gave the greatest speech in over 20 years that he's ever heard in the locker room. And what did they do the next week? I'm pretty sure that's when they lost to Buffalo, right? Buffalo or New England. And they got whooped. So, yeah, so much for that most amazing speech of all time. So much for getting the team hype. And ever since then, you guys saw after last week's game, the Cardinals, like, it was just, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fell asleep, like, after the second half and woke back up for the fourth quarter. And when I woke up, it was nothing better. It just got even worse. I thought maybe we'd kind of stick in it, like, maybe a little bit, but 31-6? This was the best defense, like, one of the top 3 defenses of last year. This is the Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. This is a top 10, top 15 wide receivers, and Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson. No, this team has no heart. This team has no drive, and it truly pains me to be a Jet fan this year. Oh, so I'm sorry, going on a rant.
No. It's all good. There's a lot to unpack there.
I'd love to hear your guys' take on this Jet season.
No. There's a lot to unpack with everything you just said. So let's back it up just a little bit. Let's go back to the first year. You spoke about this year with Aaron Rodgers because it was his first complete year as a starter.
Yes, first full starter as a
Let's
quarterback for the
go
Jets.
back to the year he got to the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts genuinely when the trade was made?
I, like a lot of other Jet fans that they could attest with me, we truly did think that we found our quarterback. We thought we found the guy that could take us to the playoffs, that could take us to the Super Bowl. Because, like I said, just 2 years before we traded for him, he was a 2-time MVP of the NFL.
Correct.
He has proven that he still had it in him. So we, as Jet fans, believe that he was able to take us there.
And I get the understanding of wanting to, but at the same time, you had to look at what he was doing on and off the field. Do you feel that everything like that was oversighted?
I would definitely say, looking back at it now, definitely. Because, listen...
Well, hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, obviously. And the thing is, looking back at it, like, when it was all going down, I remember you mentioning to me one time that if you look at the way he left on bad terms with everyone, Devontae Adams, all the drama, this, that, yes, he's if you see it as that, he is a little bit of a, as you say, quote unquote, cancer in the locker room. Like he is a little bit of a problem, which is definitely some sort of thing you have to look into before you trade for a player like that.
Right. You have, and especially when you're a team like the Jets, where they are up and coming young stars, where, again, the silver lining on that Jets team is the defense. I love the Williams brothers. I love Sauce Gardner. I think that defense has a lot of promise. I've been saying that for 2 years, that the Williams brothers was the best thing that ever happened to the Jets defense. When you look at the stars on the offense, the name Aaron Rodgers being the household name that he is what took total effect on a desperate franchise.
Yes.
Now,
I can agree with you on that.
Because although he was a 2-time MVP, he was now a problem when it comes to young stars. He didn't speak to his rookies in Green Bay. He didn't care that they didn't know the playbook. They dropped the pass, they were off the field. Now, we know Matt LaFleur is a really good coach. He could not fix those types of problems. The trade happens. Robert Saleh and Matt LaFleur should not be in the same conversation when it comes to coaching quality. The expectation of Robert Saleh to be able to fix those issues when Aaron Rodgers brings the same baggage with him to New York is an impossible ask from Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
It was set to fail from the jump.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing, is like you said, with a name like Aaron Rodgers attached to a dysfunctional team like the Jets, with a not as experienced coach like Robert Saleh, it was just us Jet fans being blinded by that namesake of Aaron Rodgers. That's what I believe, and it's sad to come to that realization now after having the season that we're having, but it's something that us Jet fans do have to realize, and we have to stop being delusional. Everyone's saying blow up the team, blow up that, but like you just said, we have the Williams brothers, Quincy and Quinnen. They
unbelievable defensive stars.
Unbelievable defensive stars, bro. Like I said, last year we were maybe top 3, or top 5. You could argue top 3 defenses in the league, 100%. And we were riding off that wave of being 9-7, just barely missing playoffs. Like you said, the namesake of Aaron Rodgers was what held us Jet fans down, and it gave us that hope that we could maybe do something with this. It's kind of what happened when Brett Favre came to the Jets.
Yeah,
yes, it's in a sense it's similar because they kind of left Green Bay under the same pretenses.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just crazy because I think Aaron Rodgers is having an even worse time in the Jets.
The only difference is that he didn't manage to grab 3 concussions in a season. It's the only difference.
He just had one Achilles tear. That was it.
Right. But now, taking that into consideration, like with the Achilles tear, that was just one of many debilitating injuries that have happened over his career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to also remember Green Bay plays on grass. MetLife Stadium takes people's careers.
I mean, I was about to say, that's a whole nother argument.
It's a whole nother beast. It's a whole nother beast, MetLife Stadium itself. So when you have a 30, at the time he was, 36? He's now 38 when he first came to New York.
He's 40 now.
So he's 40.
He is 40, yeah.
So he signed, so he was 38 when he signed with the Jets?
Yeah, 38 when signed. He missed a year, 39, now he's 40.
Mm-hmm.
Right. People forget when he ripped the inner muscles of his throwing calf on his leg.
Yeah.
And then blasted his left knee a couple of years ago when he became Perk Aaron Rodgers. He decided to play 3 games. He decided to play 3 games with a torn ACL.
Aaron Rodgers, the Perk Rodgers.
Bro, if Perk Rodgers was on the Jets, man, okay, then yeah, I could see that building good.
Yes.
Yeah, now Ayahuasca Rodgers doesn't give a shit.
Even if Perk Rogers was on the Jets, the coaching staff wouldn't know what to do with him.
See,
Like literally, they don't even know how to work with Perk Rogers.
there's Perk Rogers, and then there's Ayahuasca Rogers, and unfortunately, you have
Right.
the
Yeah.
dark.
You
have
got
Darkness
Ayahuasca
Retreat
Rogers.
Rogers.
When I first saw that, I was like, "What is Bane like on our team now? Is he about to like destroy Gotham?" Like,
Right. Like he is the
love it.
master
I was
of
born in
darkness.
the darkness.
You merely borrowed it.
Oh man, no, it's
But yeah, like so what you going back on what you said about the injury aspect, you got to think too. You got to think of all the aspects that went into that first year with Aaron Rodgers here on the Jets.
Mhm.
You got to think of the trade, how amazing it was, and then you got to think of. Let's not forget Hard Knocks. That was us Jet fans watching Hard Knocks before the season started. Had us wanting to run through brick walls. I swear,
It had you guys ready to play.
Yeah, exactly. We were like, oh my god, this team's about to be so good. And then, of course, we get the schedule. What do we? First Monday Night Football game of the year on 9/11. How much more perfect of a storyline can you get?
Right.
Aaron Rodgers running out into the field with the American flag. Everyone's saying, "Oh my God, this is what an American story right here." And
Yeah, his intro took longer than his first season.
What happens the first 4 or 5 plays in? Tears his Achilles.
It was 67 seconds is what it took.
Because of the fucking turf monster at MetLife Stadium.
Right, but it also has to do with age. You know, who's to say that his Achilles wasn't 10 steps away from snapping wherever he played?
Yeah.
You know, he's 38 and a half years old playing professional football at top speed.
Yeah. See, that's another thing too. I forgot who was talking about it, but just Aaron Rodgers' mobility in the pocket has, even in the past 3 years, especially after the injury, has just gone down drastically. And defenses in the NFL nowadays can read a player like that. They're used to people like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray always scrambling, running out of the pocket. And you have a player like Aaron Rodgers that's mostly not that mobile, stays in the pocket. You could read an offense much more easier when they stay in the pocket than compared to scrambling, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's a major negative altogether with him as a quarterback already. So like his age, his speed, his arm accuracy hasn't been good at all this year. Like he cannot. I haven't seen maybe one good deep ball from Aaron Rodgers this year. Maybe one or two. Like
we also got to remember that a deep ball comes with the want to get it there, and he's just not. It's again, no one has the locker room in New York, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You know, the locker room is lost. The team is in shambles. You know, they dumped Mike Williams, which was a throwaway.
I was about to say that the perfect example of him not wanting to get those plays. Look at Mike Williams, first game with the Steelers, gets a touchdown. Man captions his photo on Instagram, #redline. Like, if that's not shade at the Jets and at Aaron Rodgers, like it's just showing you the type of organization this Jets team has right now. There's no leader. There's no team at all. I don't see a team. Like Rex Ryan was when he was saying, "Oh, be proud to be a Jet. Don't worry about the name on your back. Be proud of the name on the front, the Jets." There's no one in the locker room right now that cares about this team, in my opinion.
Oh man, I don't disagree with any of those things because they're all so true. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is the leader, right? But let's take a step back, right? We're heading into week 11 of the 2024 season. The Jets sit at 3-7, and this week you play the Colts, right? And I just was informed today that Anthony Richardson is going to be starting this game for the Colts.
Yes.
Honestly, with that being said, I kind of do like the Jets' chances a little bit more to win this game, right? Get to 4-7, right? But so far, the season has been shot for the Jets, right? That's very obvious to say. But it's very hard to pinpoint why exactly, right? Because I think that in all reality, the Jets were never going to live up to the expectations that Aaron Rodgers set before them by coming to the Jets, right? The reason that like a lot of like you and a lot of other Jets fans had the expectation that they were going to be in the playoffs and contending for a Super Bowl at the bare minimum, right, is because of Aaron Rodgers, right? And he's that 4-time MVP that won a Super Bowl almost 10 years ago. But in all reality, it's like, he has had playoff struggles. He was nearly 500 in the playoffs since that Super Bowl appearance. He's also, when he left Green Bay, he was coming off his worst year in Green Bay as well. And then he comes to the Jets, and the Jets thought, like, with our defense, and if we can get some offensive pieces, we can go there. We got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and all these young studs, and it's like we got all the great guys at skill position, right? And we just a quarterback away, right? That's the one thing, a quarterback away. And now we realize that in hindsight that was never the case, because in NFL history, no defense has gotten better. There's only one defense that has gotten better statistically the next following year for being a historic defense, and that was the 85-86 Chicago Bears. They statistically got better, but being a historic defense. But the Jets were never going to duplicate that in last year, right? And then now this year they're trying to kind of sustain that, and that's a little bit harder because defensive guys, you out there on the field, you're getting hit all the time. It's defensive players wear down over time, right? And it's like the same players that were there 2 years ago are not the same players that they are now. And like, for instance, CJ Mosley, like I like CJ Mosley, but that's an old CJ Mosley on the field right now.
Right.
Yeah. Not even on the field. He's been hurt the last like 3-4 weeks.
Exactly.
Because
so
age
it's like
is taking its toll.
Exactly. And so it's hard to kind of keep that sustained. Like, now, I will give the Jets credit. Right now, the Jets have the 10th ranked scoring defense. They are second against the pass, but 25th against the run. And they've given up 22 touchdowns in total. So they're kind of above average.
Yes.
Below average when it comes to the run, but above average when it comes to the pass. And that's fine, right? Because believe me, as a Ravens fan, I would love that because we're the worst against the pass. So I would absolutely love that. But and you got to give it to there's a lot of great defensive young guys on that field too. The Williams brothers, right? Sauce Gardner. You have a lot of good young talent, and the Jets have done a good job of drafting over the years. They've drafted a lot of really good guys that you can just kind of like.
2022 draft was amazing.
Very strong, right?
But you couldn't draft in the one position that mattered, and that was quarterback. And I think that when it comes to a lot of the Jets' failures, and I don't want to say failures because that's a very heavy word.
You can say as a Jet fan, you can say
failures, right? It has dated back all like years ago. You could probably pinpoint it like to just Woody Johnson, right? And then it trickles down from there. But I think the big name here is Joe Douglas, because Joe Douglas was the one that bought that same bill of goods from Aaron Rodgers and gave him that contract. He gave him the power and the leverage in the coaching staff where it's like, we're going to give you Nathaniel Hackett, your OC. We're going to give you your guys from Green Bay that you wanted. And obviously, Randall Cobb. I like Randall Cobb in 2018. But now Randall
Cobb is not good.
I like Alan Lazard in 2019, man, but Alan Lazard now not so much. But
after when he dropped so many of those passes, like week 3 or 4, I was like, screaming, "Get this man off my team!"
It's painful, right? And it's just, but in all reality, this was kind of inevitable for it to happen, where a lot of just bad decisions year after year after year have led to what the Jets are today. And it's a shame because in that time, and Paul and I, we've talked about it before, it's like a lot of teams have gotten good in that period of time. For instance, the Lions, right? Like how good it did not take long for the Lions to get. It took about 4 or 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. But it's of continued a vision from the very get go, right? And at the vision from the very get go for the Jets was just unrealistic, and that's why those expectations were there, and that's why the biggest. Now there's segments on First Take where it's like, who are the most miserable fan bases? The Bears, the Cowboys, the Jets. And a lot of them are going to say, hey, it's the Jets because of the expectations that were set upon them.
Yeah.
And you can go back to, all of it. And, again, there's a lot to unpack. But here we sit at week 11. You guys play against the Colts in the MetLife. This is a winnable game for you guys. And the Colts are kind of on the same level as you guys, right? They're trying to find an identity and trying to and still in the midst of kind of like a rebuild. But I will say this for Jets fans, and John, man, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because let's think about this real quick, right? Best case scenario. Now that obviously politics, Trump is in office. Woody Johnson could still be ambassador to the UK, so he could be overseas, right? So you can be a little free from Woody Johnson. Maybe Joe Douglas gets fired. Maybe you get a new GM, but you definitely get a new head coaching regime. That's 100%. And Aaron Rodgers retires, and you get a top 10 draft pick in a very loaded class next year. I
Maybe
think
try and steal Travis Hunter.
I say it's like, obviously for now, the season is tough, but the off season could be very bright for you guys. You get basically a clean slate. But obviously, do you trust your organization to make those decisions again?
That's why that ending you had me until that ending part.
Exactly, it's a different question, right? But like, best case scenario, you get a clean slate. Worst case scenario, you do it all again next year.
You see, and it's like, it's history almost doomed to repeat itself, right? You see it. It's right there that they have the opportunity to blank slate everything. You clearly have to get a new coaching staff, right? So you get a new coaching staff. Aaron Rodgers is more or less going to retire this year. If he signs for one more, it's one more.
Let me interrupt you there. I just saw something on Bleacher Report and Twitter, interview with Aaron Rodgers asked, is he going to be back next year? He said, yeah, I'll probably be back. So
right, but that's now.
Yeah, no, I know.
Aaron Rodgers in February can have a different answer.
He's going to go on another ayahuasca trip, and he's going to decide, hey, I don't want to play football anymore.
All jokes aside, again, Aaron Rodgers' mindset now is a lot different from Aaron Rodgers in February. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So once the end of the year comes around and people start asking the real questions until the off season, that's when it's going to start. And he's going to play his game again, where he deads the media until he has no other choice but to answer the questions that are coming out. And it's going to be a blatant yes or no.
Yep.
And it's just like what happened last year when it comes to, are you ready to play? He said nothing. He didn't show up to OTAs. He did what he wanted, and then he shows up week 1.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's the same game. But if he leaves, he retires, he leaves Devontae Adams stranded in New Jersey. Let's just keep that one in the back pocket for a second. Now you guys you have trade capital with him. And you stock up on draft capital. You can trade Devontae Adams and a mid-round pick for an upper first-round pick. And that is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So now you catch yourselves with a lotto pick, and then you trade that away and trade up in the draft for maybe a 12 or 13 first-round pick. And all the pieces are right there to make it happen, but you need someone who's sitting at the chair looking at this, saying this can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like what Halpin was saying, Joe Douglas does not read it that way.
Yeah.
He doesn't read it that way. He reads it as, we have the Green Bay Packers of 2013, and they're going to win a Super Bowl for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's 11 years later.
Yeah.
A lot has happened in that time, and there's been a lot of regression from the players that you now have in Jets uniforms that were once in Green Bay uniforms.
Yeah, no, and everything you guys have said, I 100% agree with. And it what you said too about with Joe Douglas, I always loved him. I loved what he did for everything, but like what you guys said, he doesn't look at it that way as building for the future. He's looking at it as I'm giving Aaron Rodgers what I think he needs.
He wants
I
the
gave
right
him
now.
that. Yeah, for right now. What I think he needs for right now to succeed. I gave him his buddy Nathaniel Hackett. I gave him Alan Lazard. I gave him Randall Cobb. I gave him Devontae Adams. I gave him a great, quote unquote, great offensive line that was supposed to be amazing this year. And you have an amazing defense. Everything was set out for him to work out amazing. But unfortunately, like you guys said, there's no person there that's laying out those pieces of what is the next step for us. You said there's a light at the end of the tunnel, John. As a Jet fan right now, I personally can't see that because just the way these guys have been performing. And listen, yeah, there's a joke with some of my Jet fans that we say the offseason is our Super Bowl. The
Yeesh.
offseason is when we get so hyped and excited
Of
for
course.
what's to come. We have an amazing draft. We signed so many good free agents. We hire a new coach. Some coaches I've been hearing some Gruden getting thrown out there. I heard the OC Ben Johnson of the Lions get thrown out there. I've heard Vrabel get thrown out there. Rex Ryan, obviously. So we'll see what happens this offseason on which coach we decide to go for. But what you said, John, I need the biggest part of this. Why the Jets are failing this year too is because of Woody Johnson. It really does truly like how much further can you look back at it and peel back the layers of this organization until you look at it's the owner is the problem. He's one. There's multiple other problems. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers not playing good. Offensive line not playing good. We have no coach really right now. There's other pieces, but you have to understand Woody Johnson, what he did, firing Saleh, trading for Adams, thinking those were going to be the pieces. He is not a manager. He is not a coach. He is a owner. You own the team. You are not. Look at what happened when Steve Cohen hired Dave Stearns for the Mets. Baseball operations. He took a step back. Steve Cohen was like, "All right, you decide what you need to do.
Mhm.
Take a whole. Get someone in there that knows how to run an organization.
Mhm.
Get someone in there that knows how to take these pieces, these Devontae Adams that you could get a first round for, these first round picks and second round picks that you could trade up for in the draft. Take all these little pieces, these free agents that you sign, build a coherent organization that's able to play the game of football at a fast, up-tempo speed that you're able to win games, succeed for the future, while also winning now. That's what the Jets need. And Woody Johnson needs to find that person to build that team and just take a step back because that's one strife I've had of this team this year is how much Woody Johnson has dipped his toe in every little decision they make. And it's just not what this team needs at all. And yeah, go ahead.
It's that win now mentality, and that's the thing too. In all reality, the Jets were never constructed to ever win now. They were meant to develop and meant to grow into a contending team. And when you feed on that instant gratification, right? You get this, right? You get this whole dysfunction, this whole disconnect between players and ownership. And I agree with you 100%. Like there's a lot of blame at the feet of Woody Johnson. And just like decision making back from where you could even start from like say the end of the Mark Sanchez Rex Ryan era,
2015.
Right? Yeah, like 2014 or so, because that was just about when like a series of
that was when we were getting into the Adam Gase era.
Right.
Yeah.
The Adam Gase fever dream.
Yeah.
Well, it was Todd Bowles first.
Yeah, Todd Bowles first,
then
then Adam Gase. Yeah.
Yes. And so, like again, just a series of bad decisions. I think if there was ever a word bubble, right, we've probably said Aaron Rodgers probably the most so far this episode, right? And I think that the reason that there's so much blame at the feet of Rodgers now is because he got exactly what he wanted and still failed to deliver. And that's the thing is like you didn't even fail to deliver half of what he delivered. He didn't deliver shit. He's having one of his worst years of all time.
Yeah,
Just-
I was really checking before this. He's statistically having one of the worst seasons of his
Yeah, it's
entire
like his
career.
third or fourth worst year of his career right now.
and despite that, he's going in the Hall of Fame regardless. So it
Yeah.
doesn't
Right.
matter this year, but it's like it's everything that will be left behind too.
That's another thing. As Jet fans, like we can hold on to that feeling of, is Aaron Rodgers going to be that person? We can't trust any person that thinks that anymore is delusional, because like you just said, regardless of what happens of him on the Jets, he's still going to end up as a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
He has nothing left to prove. He's won
Exactly.
the Super Bowl. He's won plenty of he's won
MVPs.
4 MVPs literally, and he's had multiple first NFL team starts. Like, he's a legendary quarterback that's going to go down in the Hall of Fame forever. And this, as a Jets quarterback, probably means nothing to him and should mean nothing to him. And it's just unfortunate for us as Jet fans that we have to go through this. And a person that you know truly doesn't actually care about your team. I wouldn't say you doesn't fully care. He probably does care about the people around him, organization, blah, 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 his teammates. But like, he has, like you said, he has nothing left to prove. And that's what's the toughest part to think about as a Jet fan.
Yeah, I can understand what you're coming. It's almost similar to, like, I'm going to make this comparison. Phillip Rivers on the Colts.
Yeah,
You know,
I could say that.
It didn't help, nor did it hurt his legacy.
Yeah.
It, you
Well,
know,
but
it's
he actually made it to the playoffs that year.
right. I'm not saying, again, I'm just saying it didn't help, nor did it hurt, regardless of what he.
Here's another good example: Matt Ryan to the Colts.
Matt Ryan to the Colts. Joe Flacco on the
Joe
Colts.
Flacco to the Colts.
So basically, what we're saying is the Jets and the Jets and the Colts, the two teams versing each other this week, are the two QB like retirement homes. Like,
So Aaron
Yeah, for the
Rodgers gets
most
traded
part.
to the Colts next year.
I don't think the
I'll
Colts
trade
would be
Aaron
dumb enough to
Rodgers
pick
for
that contract
Josh
up.
Downs, like a second, like third round pick. I'm with it.
My God, give us Josh Downs, he says. Go to
Listen
LA
to
and pick up
player. He's
Stenson
a
Bennett
young
from the
wide
practice
receiver.
squad.
He's on the practice squad.
Yeah, they picked him up from the. He's still on the practice squad.
Damn, bro. He's
Wait,
not
who?
even on the roster.
Stenson Bennett.
Oh my God!
He's not even on the roster, bro.
Gotta
just
get a
glad he's
Tommy
on our
DeVito
roster.
out of here.
Tommy Cutlets, baby. Tommy
Tommy
Cutlets.
Cutlets.
But I have to agree with Halpin. This is a extremely winnable game for you guys, more so on the defensive side, because Anthony Richardson. I like Anthony Richardson as an athlete, right?
Yeah.
But he is really suffering right now because of lack of reps as a pro.
No, I was gonna go into it like the stats. He's played 6 games. He's only had 41 carry. He has thrown for 958 passing yards, 44 completion rate percentage, like 159 yards per game. Only 4 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Like, he has not been having a good year whatsoever, and he's been hurt now. So
Right, but that
Like,
also
it's very-
comes from lack of reps in a collegiate level too. Only having
Yes.
he has under 20 games played at a collegiate level.
yes,
So Halpin and I have spoke about this a couple of different times, and I keep reverting back to this: is these kids coming out of college don't have the foundation to be pros yet.
Yeah.
Because again, you think about that type of resume when it comes to being a pro football player, right? I have 13 college games under my belt. That means you have a year and a half worth of games. That's it. So your longest tenure in football is 4 years of high school ball. Still.
yeah.
You've played 13 college games. You played 24 high school games if you played 8 games a year. If you played 8 games a year.
Yeah. You haven't played that much football in reality.
And now you're going up against professionals.
Yeah.
It's stunted development. And it's lack of reps. Anthony Richardson has very minimal reps in high-level football, and it's showing on the field.
See, that's what I'm scared for the Jets to do, is once again, if say next year in the draft, we draft one of these young quarterbacks like a Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward or a Jalen Milroe. Like, with one of those young we're going to stunt their development because we're just going to be like, here, be the savior of our team. Go, here's the reins.
Right.
We're going to stunt their development, and what's going to happen? The cycle is going to start all over again.
It's a vicious circle that's extremely hard to get out of. But you're watching a formula happen in the league where this is how you get out of this. And believe it or not, it started in Green Bay. They drafted Jordan Love, and they sat him on the bench. And they said, learn the game of football. We're going to have this vet start. If he gets hurt, you're going to go in. You're our number 2 for sure. And when he's out, you're in for sure. It's happening in Minnesota right now. Unfortunately, it's also due to injury.
Yeah.
But Sam Darnold is playing very well. An ex-Jet.
Yeah. Yeah.
All we need is Zach Wilson to go in, and then it shows that they really weren't the problem.
Yeah, the Zach Wilson one, I'm not too sure because man's like the third string behind Stidham and Bo Nix. Like,
But Bo Nix can lead a franchise, so he's going to have to sit at number 3 for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Bo Nix can lead a franchise.
You're telling me I got Bo Nix on my fantasy team. Trust me, I know.
Well, what was it? To your point, CP, Mahomes sat 1 year. He sat his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers sat for a couple of years under Brett Favre.
Brady sat under Drew Bledsoe
for his first year as well.
That's what we as Jet fans were kind of hoping for Jordan Travis this year, but that's probably the gone fever dream.
He may be forced into that QB1 spot next year if Rodgers decides to retire and the Jets decide not to draft quarterback.
Yeah.
Because they may see an early round pick like they always do and go for either a skill guy or they'll hit the offensive line and see what they see as a starter ready offensive lineman. But the last couple of years that they've drafted starter ready offensive linemen, they've shown no progress.
Yeah.
When the pick before, like the year, I believe they got a good center, but it was right after the Lions drafted Penei Sewell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. we get unlucky in those circumstances. It's like, and it's unfortunate we do. And
right.
That's one thing I will miss about Douglas because I will give him respect on his drafting abilities. He was a very good draft day GM that was able to get stuff done.
Well, don't write his name in the sand yet. He's not out of the GM spot just yet.
Yeah, just yet. We'll see.
But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I went on a rant one day to one of my friends. I was like, if we're clearing house, get rid of everyone. But the only person I truly wanted to stay was Joe Douglas because, like, in my eyes, like you said before, yes, he laid it out for Aaron Rodgers. Like, here you go. But like, he was able to get those deals done at the end of the day.
True, and he was doing that strictly on behalf of Woody Johnson. So he was following orders to the best of his abilities. He was essentially playing messenger bird, flying a bird into a rolling dumpster fire. So I fault Joe Douglas everybody has fault with what's going on with the Jets. Joe Douglas should have the power as a manager to tell the owner, this is not going to work. This is not going to work. This will not win us games. This has not worked for you in the past. We need to move forward. You should be able to have that voice and have that respect as a manager. And clearly Woody Johnson does not value the word of Joe Douglas, who is a good manager as in the NFL.
That's what I'm saying. Back on the strife of us fans is we see that Woody Johnson is just taking too big of a role in this organization, and
it's like Jerry almost.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Jerry,
he's just doing too much.
How can be an owner GM like that? Like
and head scout.
And a scout. Like you cannot be multiple positions, especially as a high role owner, especially for a very wealthy and franchisable team like the Cowboys or the Jets. You need people to help you build this team. People you trust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Is like it's hard because it's hard to just pinpoint one thing. There's so many different things to pinpoint, or as Paul likes to say, there's just so many layers to unpack. And man, again, we sit here at week 11. You have the Colts coming into town, and I think out of all the stats that you listed, the 44 completion percentage. That's the biggest one that should be telling. That
Mhm.
Yeah.
means he is not hitting his targets, and the Jets should be drooling at the opportunity to cash in on a lot of Colts mistakes. And that's why, learning that information today, I'm like, I'm kind of leaning towards the Jets,
Yeah.
but
Listen,
I'll have to see when we make our picks.
if there's a game for the defense to prove that they still got it, it's this game.
Absolutely.
It truly is this game.
And also on the other side, because that Colts defense isn't. They're a bunch of young people. They're like
Oh yeah.
they have no presence. They have no foundation as to who they really are. You know what I mean? So your offense should be able to capitalize on their mistakes too.
Mhm.
But when you have Aaron Rodgers who can't get the ball to where he needs to get it either, they do have a couple of playmakers who are in the up and running on that Colts defense who can capitalize as well.
Oh yeah. Trust me, like I
So
said, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Pittman, Taylor. These are
it's
all
gonna
weapons.
it's gonna come down to fundamentals. And like, when it comes to these games, it always comes down to who makes the least mistakes on
Yeah.
both sides of the ball. So it's really going to come down to coaching.
It's actually funny you say that because before we hopped on, I saw Olbrich. He had an interview and he was like, "Yeah, I showed the whole team video PowerPoint on fundamentals, not just the defense, the whole team."
Yeah.
Like,
Right. Everyone
Yeah.
fundamentals are everything.
Mhm.
It's you have to know how to do it correctly before being able to do it fast.
mhm.
And that comes down to coaching. It's going to come down to which of these two teams is being coached better. And as the Jets, they now have to trust an interim defensive coach and Aaron Rodgers to lead
Yep.
that offense for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
That is what specifically falls on Aaron Rodgers' feet, is the progression of the offense. Because he's the only offensive mind that's old enough to do anything, because you have a former defensive coordinator running interim head coach.
Yeah. You at the end of the day have to realize, if you're Aaron Rodgers, that you're the play caller. Like, you have people that are good defensive play callers, but at the end of the day, you are the Hall of Fame quarterback that is leading this team. You're ultimately the one hiking the ball on that field. You're going to be making these play calls. One aspect I'll give Aaron Rodgers always respect is how well he reads a defense. His IQ of the game of football is unmatched like any other.
Mhm.
And that's a beautiful thing to have on a team like this. But if you're not putting that IQ to use and making it those fundamental changes and swaps, you're not going to win games. And that's exactly what's been happening. We've been losing because we cannot turn these good IQ plays into success.
Well, sorry, Hub, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you. He has amazing IQ, right? But in a 40-year-old body coming off an Achilles injury.
Exactly.
So the mind
Yes,
can be sharp, but the
exactly.
body can be slow.
Yeah. The mind is sharp, but the body is deteriorating by the
The
day.
spirit is willing, but the body is weak.
Right. And as sharp as his mind is, the refusal to share the knowledge
Yes.
is one of the biggest issues that people try to oversee with him. They try to get past the idea that he's not a teammate to young players. If he doesn't trust you, he doesn't talk to you. And that's not how an up and coming locker room needs to be. You know, they need to be able to be embraced by the veteran. You know, it's all about being able to be a unit. These guys are looking for these young kids are looking for leadership. They're 22, 23 years old. You're 40 years old. You've been here for 15 years, and they're asking you questions, and you're like, how do you not know?
Yeah. It's the truth. And, like, especially like you said, these amazing young players you have in your team. A player like Breece Hall, who has 550 rushing yards, so three touchdowns, 3 fumbles, which he's got to work on. But not only to mention Garrett Wilson, your top wide receiver currently. He's got 704 receiving yards in week 11. Man can reach over 1,000 yards by the end of the year, 100%. If you give him the right passes and right throws, he will be your top target who can win games. You have to put these plays into motion.
It's
That's
a
the
matter of chemistry and being on the same page.
Yes. Yes.
It's no one's a mind reader in this game. You cannot read the mind. You have to be able to lay it out on paper and say, this is what we need to do, and we need to practice it until it's right. That's the only way it helps is repetition. It's repetition, and again, a lot of people say OTAs and summer camp doesn't really matter. Those reps matter.
Yes, they do.
Those reps matter, and I've been trying to argue that with a lot of people when it comes to a lot of these teams that are suffering. It's these main list players are not showing up to summer camp, and they're not showing up to OTAs, and they're not doing these things, and it shows because they're come week 12, they're still warming up. You got to do the reps early, so they're ugly early, so they're refined come the season. It didn't happen at all with the Jets this offseason. And it's going to continue to show until someone can grab every one of these players that are supposed to be stars and be like, you need to show up early to practice. You need to sit down and watch film. You need to do this. Everyone needs to take accountability and move forward as a team versus just protecting themselves.
Hey, development isn't pretty, but it is necessary.
Very, very necessary.
Oh, man. So much to unpack. I love it. You guys have any final thoughts before we move on to making our picks for this week?
Let me just lastly say, if you're a New York Jets fan out there and you're like me, you just hold on to that little bit of hope. I've lost probably 99.9% of the hope that we have, but there's always going to be that little 0.1% that always keeps coming back, and
that's loyalty.
Yeah, it's called loyalty. Everyone keeps saying like, "Oh, why don't you just?" Like my girl always just keeps saying, "Oh, why don't you just stop watching football or switch teams?" I'm like, "You don't understand. It does not work like that." Any girl that says a guy isn't loyal, ask him what his football team is. If it's a bad team, he's a loyal motherfucker.
He's ride or die. He's
exactly.
ride or die.
Listen, you catch a Redskins fan, and they will go to war for anybody.
Yo, hashtag bring back Redskins. Facts.
Someone who went through the real shit was a Redskins.
Exactly. That's the team that really we should be feeling bad for.
I was going to say Oakland Raiders, man.
No, at the same time, though, bro. At the same time, do not feel bad for them. They got Jaden Daniels. They got Terry.
They're on the up and up.
Exactly.
The absolute
Once
turnaround.
Again, another team that it should have been the Jets that are having this good of a season.
It's just the all-time turnaround because they saw a message, they grabbed onto it, and now they have a vision. And now the rest will be history.
Chris, what do I always tell you? What's
Jets
that key word? No, what's that key word you always keep saying?
What's that?
The Jets should be good. Should is the key word in there.
Oh, envy is a great thing.
I love it. You know what? We were just talking about the Commanders. Let's start off because they actually play the Philadelphia Eagles this upcoming Thursday. So, Commanders against the Eagles. John, who you got this week?
Honestly, I'm full riding on the Commanders right now. They are, even though they just lost to your Steelers, Chris, I know that was you're so lucky Russell Wilson is so good at hard counts.
That was a coaching bout, but that'll be in later's conversation.
Yeah, but I'm full on in the Commanders. Jaden Daniels has been easily, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year. He's been doing some amazing things over there in Washington. You got players like Noah Brown, this new player. I had no idea he was a good receiver, but he's one of the top receivers for them. Of course, you got Scary Terry there. And the Eagles, listen, Saquon, amazing. But the Eagles are just one of those teams that you saw it last year. They lost the last 7 games of the year? 6-7 games?
They lost 7 out of their last 8 games.
Yeah, exactly. So they're one of those teams that they can be good, but they can go on losing streaks like that. So me personally, I'm taking the Commanders.
I respect it. CP, who you got?
I think I'm going to ride with Washington this week too, man. Again, the Eagles are showing that they are not to be trifled with. So this game is going to be very interesting, especially that it's a division game. But again, the Eagles have a tendency to shoot themselves in the foot when things are starting to go right, whether it be issues during practice. Last year it was Jalen Hurts had some fumble issues. Their issues haven't peeked their ugly head out this year. From what it
Not to
shows, they're
mention they
playing
lost
rather well.
two. Not to mention they lost two very important offensive linemen last year.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, give me Washington. The Eagles. It'll be a tough game.
Oh man, hey, we live for division games, right, CP? Right. So, I'm gonna go with the Eagles to beat this one. I think this is going to be a really tough fought game. And I could see it swing either way, but Philly, they have really found their momentum and really found their identity, and Saquon has fit like a glove there, and he runs that offense so like he's been the engine of that offense, like he was the engine in New York. So he's just doing it in Philly green colors this week, or this year. But I will take the Eagles to beat the Commanders on Thursday. Let's move to Sunday's slate of games. Let's start in Miami. The Las Vegas Raiders come to play the Miami Dolphins. John, who you got for this one?
Honestly, give me the Raiders. Honestly, I like, even though they've been somewhat iffy ever since the Devontae Adams trade, the Pierce, like Antonio Pierce is a great coach in my opinion. They do need to figure out what they're doing with the quarterback situation, but honestly, as a Jet fan, obviously the Dolphins are division rivals. It's hard to see them, and I honestly feel bad for Tua. Like, man should retire. He does not need any more concussions. Like, think about your family, my man. But they have not been playing very good. Tyreek has been iffy, but obviously Tua's coming back. But honestly, I think the Raiders are going to take it this one. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see.
I respect it. CP, who you got?
You're gonna have to give me Miami. I definitely trust Tua being back on the field more than anybody starting for the Raiders. Miami goes as far as Tua will allow them. Vegas has no vision, so
just like the Jets, baby.
it's arguable.
I'm gonna go with the Dolphins as well to beat the Raiders. Raiders, they have an identity crisis. They really don't know what they are. Are they good? Are they an offensive team? Are they a defensive team? What do they do? Miami, we know what they are. When Tua's on the field, they are a fast team. And he had a very tough fought win against the Rams this past Monday night. So I'm gonna take the Dolphins to beat the Raiders on this one.
Give me the Raiders. Upset alert.
You're lone wolfing it right there, man.
Yeah, no, if they win, that'll be a major upset alert.
Don't worry, I keep track of everyone's records per week. So let's see. What was it last week? Our guest, he went 6-8, and CP and I both went 11-3. So let's see if you beat us this week. So let's move to New Orleans, where the Browns take on the Saints in the Superdome. CP, who you got for this one?
Give me the Saints. I have no inclination to really go for Cleveland. That fires out whatever people really thought it was. It was really just smoke in the air. They have nothing to them. The Saints, I do still like that defense. I feel like this could almost act as a turnaround game for New Orleans.
Okay, John, who you got?
Honestly, I'm also going to be riding with the Saints. I know they just fired their head coach, Dennis Allen, but Kamara is, in my opinion, still one of the top 5 running backs in the league.
That's a lot.
But I truly do think that. I truly think he has moments where he can still shine. But like you said, Chris, like the wave of the Browns, especially you guys having your teams being the same division as the Browns, like that wave of the Browns has just kind of died out. I know every Browns fan wants Deshaun Watson the hell out of there because he's just awful. Jameis Winston, love him. He's just a comedian, great guy. But the wave of the Browns, the wave of the Browns has officially died. I'm full on the Saints this week.
I'm going to take the Saints as well. I think it's a clean sweep across the board. Hey, as bad as the Jets have been, and we've talked about them, right? At least you're not the Browns. It could,
Right. At least you are in
could be
Cleveland.
worse. It
Yeah.
could always be worse.
Right.
That's honestly debatable, though. That really is debatable.
I know.
I
It's
think
like,
I'd still rather be a Jets fan than a Browns fan.
yeah, whose misery is painful, right? But let's go to the Jets, right? Let's pick this game. It's
Oh,
Colts
God.
Jets. We were just talking Jets. John, I'm guessing you're going Colts, right? No, I'm guessing you're going Jets, right?
I just said I'm a Jet. I gotta go Jets. I have to. I gotta believe. Like I said, that little inkling of hope that I still have. I have to have it. Unfortunately, it hurts me to say because I do in my mind. It's telling me Colts. In my heart, it's telling me Jets. So I just have to say Jets.
Oh man, you know what, John, I'm gonna take the Jets with you too. I was leaning them, and I think I will take them as well. There's just that
Yeah,
44
you're the same wavelength
percentage
as me. It's like it's hard. It's like that meme. It's the meme with Pete Davidson. It's like, why would you bet on the Jets? They're gonna come back. No, they're not. They're the Jets.
Never bet on the Jets.
Never bet on the Jets.
Never. CP, are you gonna ride this wave with us, or are you gonna go Colts with Anthony Richardson?
Nah,
Man?
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna go with the Colts. I feel like fundamentally the Colts make less mistakes. They draw less penalties, and they don't play frustrated even when things aren't going their way. And all of those things the Jets do.
I'll tell you right now, if Flacco was starting, I would have taken the Colts.
Honestly, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
I don't expect many points from the Colts, but I expect less points from the Jets.
I expect this game to be under like 25 points combined, like if that.
Probably, it would be like a 10-7 finish.
Yeah, like that would be a solid score.
13-10, some shit like that.
Let's move to Tennessee, where the Minnesota Vikings come to play the Tennessee Titans. CP, who you got for this one?
Minnesota. This is going to be a roll. Tennessee is another one of those teams where they just have no vision. They have no identity. They don't know what to be, and they got Mayo Man running the ship right now.
Oh man, John, who you got for this matchup?
Oh my God, Mayo Man! That killed me. Yeah, no. If the Vikings lose, that would be the upset of the week. I'm taking the Vikings to win, but if they lose, I don't. The Titans are on. Like, if you want to talk about once again the Browns and the Jets being bad, the Titans are another one of those teams that just you have no picture of what you're doing. Will Levis is going on the ultimate meme tour of 2024. Like, this man has
drugs, and I won't be swayed.
He probably is, and we don't know it. But that team just has no foundation, no real true number one, especially after losing Derrick Henry and seeing John, obviously you being a Ravens fan, you loving my man Derrick Henry.
Of course.
But yeah, no, give me the Vikings this week.
Oh, I kind of smell an upset here.
Oh,
I'm taking the Titans. Actually, I'm taking the Titans on this one.
I respect it.
Reason being,
the hell you smelling?
I'm smelling Tony Pollard over 100 rushing yards is what I'm smelling.
Okay, and that I can see.
And that is really tough for any team to stop because Tony Pollard is still a good running back, and they were able to really force their will upon some games and force their Will Levis upon some games. So I'm gonna take the Titans to upset the Vikings on this one.
I respect it.
Let's move to Chicago, where the Bears. Oh man, you want to talk about struggling, man?
We want to talk about the Titans, the Browns, and the Jets.
I know we're talking about pain in this game. Where the Packers come in to play the Chicago Bears. I'm just gonna go right off the bat. I'm taking the Packers to beat the Bears. I just think that they're just gonna win.
So you want to watch a team get beat like they're like someone owes them money? Tune into this game because Green Bay is going to give them such a beating. It's not going to be pretty.
Oh man, John, who you got for this matchup?
Listen, even though he's on our team, Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. That's all I got to say. The Packers are coming in with their man Jordan Love, and I got Josh Jacobs and Jaden Reed in one of my fantasy leagues, and they're about to both have amazing games.
They're about to have enormous days.
Jaden Reed, though. Jaden Reed, man. He's so good.
Jaden Reed. Love him. Great guy. I'm not gonna lie. Josh Jacobs was probably one of the steals of the free agency this past year for the Packers. I swear to God.
100%. He's a new breath of fresh air into Green Bay, and it's so great to see him in a Packers uniform.
Especially with a thriving Jordan Love who's turning into everything that the Packers fans would have loved. Like you were saying before, Chris, about just Matt LaFleur and his scheme as a coach and being held down by Rodgers, and now he's flourishing with a young talent that he's able to build his vision of what he wants the Packers organization to be, which is total respect to him, total respect to the Packers. The Packers own the Bears. Give me the Packers.
Absolutely. It's a clean sweep of the Packers across the board. So you want to talk about the get beat like your money bowl? This is the Jacksonville Jaguars coming into the Detroit Lions. You thought that was the last game? No. That was this game. That's this game. I'm taking the Lions. John, who you got for this one?
I mean, all right. I was talking about before, if the Vikings lose to the Titans, if the Lions lose to the Jaguars, that would be the ultimate upset of the entire year.
That would probably be the upset of the decade.
Literally, the Lions are going on a generational run right now, and like you said before, Chris, I would die on a hill for Dan Campbell. That man makes me want to run through a brick wall. Yeah. And he is one of probably the best coach in the league right now. So the Lions, Amon-Ra, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Slim Laporta. Give me the Lions this week.
So we've seen 250 pieces from Detroit.
Do we see 60?
Do we see a 60 piece from Detroit?
Yo. Do we see like a Dolphins from last year, a 72-10 win?
I think we do. I think we might actually.
Yo, did we reach 100 for the first time in NFL history?
Whoa. A friend of ours is a Jags fan. We're not going to walk down the road of a triple digit. We're not going to do that.
Well, I'm not saying it's off the table.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just not going to walk down the road.
I'm just saying.
Sorry, Mike.
I walk a lonely road.
You goddamn right.
On the table.
I'm not saying that card isn't off the table, Mike. I'm sorry.
I just played in defense position face down, and I end my turn. Oh man, let's move to New England. We're on the pain train. Let's keep it on the pain train. Let's move to New England, where the Los Angeles Rams come to take on the New England Patriots. This was a former Super Bowl rematch, but these teams are not those teams anymore. John, who you got for this matchup? Rams, Patriots.
See, this is an interesting one because the Rams have been doing pretty good, I would say. Like, Matt Stafford. Like, I don't know. Hold on. I'm trying to think of this one, like, realistically.
See, this is the fun part of the picks, where it's like, wait a minute, I didn't think about this game at all, and then it's
you just mentioned Rams Patriots. I'm like, who do I got in this one?
Yeah,
that's the fun part about doing these.
It really shows like what your heart tells you.
Does anyone know if both Puka and Cooper Kupp are playing?
They are, I believe.
They are both in.
Fine. In that case, give me the Rams. Like, just that duo alone just is so good. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Stafford. That's just a recipe for success. And the Rams are one of those teams that they'll start off awful, but then somehow sneak into the playoffs and then run the playoffs and just end up in the Super Bowl like they did 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, give me the Rams.
I like it. See who you got.
You're going to have to give me the Rams simply because Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are back on the field. Their absence was absolutely felt in the beginning of this year, but their presence is about to be felt tenfold for the rest of this season.
I can predict. I'll predict right now they could be the best wide receiver duo for the rest of the season.
That's a pretty bold prediction, but I respect it.
That's a debatable one. That's a hot take.
Like it.
It's definitely possible, but I think for that reason, both of you laid out perfectly. I'm taking the Rams to also win this game, which then leads us to the 1:00 game of the day, the Ravens and Steelers. Now, John,
we're obviously going to be split, John. So
yeah, okay. So I'll already say right now for any viewers who don't know, Chris going Steelers, John going Ravens.
This is 4 years in. They know where we're going.
Yeah. Ah. On one hand, all right. Before I start this, is Russell starting or is Justin Fields starting?
Russell's starting until further
Russell's
notice,
starting.
fam.
On one hand, you have Mike Tomlin and Russell Wilson with a great wide receiving core in Pickens, Williams, Freiermuth, great offensive line, great overall coaching. And on the other hand, you have Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh, with Mark Andrews, Derrick Henry.
They're top 5 in everything on offense.
Literally. Just got Deontay Johnson from the Panthers.
That's
The
an
former
oversight.
Steeler.
That's an oversight.
It's still something. It's still something. Just in case one of them gets hurt or whatever. Isaiah Likely, didn't even mention him. He's going to be good in a couple of years. I'm calling it now. He's already good now, but he'd be even better. But if I'm coming down to it, I honestly think the Ravens are winning.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I respect
I'm taking
that,
the
mate.
Ravens.
I
think the Ravens, they're one of those teams that obviously they've been making the playoffs the past couple of years. They got so unlucky last year. I was so upset when the Ravens lost last year to the Chiefs. It was just a heartbreaker. And just the pure talent of Lamar Jackson combined with the pure strength and speed of Derrick Henry, plus the strength and speed, plus catching ability of Mark Andrews, like that trio alone, I think can take on the Steelers' defense. And that's another thing I didn't even mention. The Steelers' defense is really good. Trust me. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are just amazing, in my opinion. Sorry, Chris. I know that hurt.
No.
I know you're going to say, "Oh, we'll see Sunday. We'll see what happens."
No. I totally. Again, I have a lot of respect for the Ravens as a division rival. As hard as this is the best,
they're your best division rival.
This is the best rivalry in professional sports, in my opinion. When it comes to American sports, Steelers Ravens is the best rivalry in pro sports. Second place is and it's like not even close. The gap is probably Rangers Devils in hockey. After that, in my opinion, those are the two best sports rivalries, in my opinion. I respect that you went for them. It is going to be I don't want to say too much because him and I are gonna go into it. You know what I mean?
Yes, just say I'll save it for when you guys talk about it. But
yeah, it'll be a good game.
Obviously, I know how both of you guys go. I obviously know you guys are your own teams. Don't worry.
If I'm going to say, I'm actually going to surprise both of you. Actually, I'm actually going to pick the Steelers to beat the Ravens this week.
Really?
Yes, I do.
I think I know why too.
Yes, it's that defense. Our defense is horrible, and
we're going to get specifically.
Our secondary specifically is horrible, and obviously, spoiler alert, because we're going to be going on after this, but I do like the way that the Steelers are looking with under Russell Wilson. They look like a completely rejuvenated team. And they just have a new breath of fresh air and life into them. Ravens, Lamar Jackson's literally playing hero ball every game.
Every game.
In order for us to win these games. That game against the Bengals last week took 2 years off my life watching that game. And and we won, but it felt like a loss. And I was very infuriated with how that game ended. If there's ever such thing as an infuriating win. But hey, I respect you taking my Ravens. At least one of us is taking the Ravens, man.
Yeah.
I respect it.
I know the Ravens. When I first started watching football, obviously I was a Jets fan, but the two other teams that I really liked watching were the Packers and the Ravens with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco
Of
Ravens
course.
and prime Aaron Rodgers Super Bowl.
Yes.
Those were two good teams I loved watching.
Oh, yes, 100%, man, 100%. Thank you. Let's move to San Francisco, where the Seattle Seahawks take on the San Francisco 49ers, another division rival in NFC West. So, John, I go to you. Seahawks, Niners, who you got for this one?
Off the pure fact that my man CMC is finally back, and I drafted him in one of my fantasy leagues, and I need him to do good because that league I'm doing very bad in. I'm going to pick the 49ers. I hope Christian McCaffrey has like 5 touchdowns because that would be amazing. That's literally the pure fact why I'm choosing the 49ers. The Seahawks are also a good team, but overall, the 49ers were just in the Super Bowl last year. Yeah, they've had their difficulties here and there, but they're still the 49ers at the end of the day.
I respect it. CP, who you got for this one?
I think you have to give me the 49ers too, but more so because I like Kyle Shanahan more as a coach at this point in time. I think Brock Purdy is a stud in disguise. I've been saying that since last year. Dude puts up numbers, and it's time we really start respecting how he plays because he's dangerous.
Yeah. To that point, too, the reason that the 49ers are still alive for playoff contention is because of Brock Purdy. The 49ers have been decimated on injuries this whole year, and they're still alive and still contenders because of Brock Purdy. So
Right.
I agree with you, and I wholeheartedly will pick the 49ers along with both of you to beat the Seahawks. CMC, guess who's back? back again.
Right. Quarterback's best friend has returned.
Yes. I truly do think McCaffrey is going to go for like 250 rushing yards plus.
It's possible, man. You're firing on a lot of hot takes, man. I love it.
Listen, I'm all from the hot takes. Chris knows I'm always riding off some hot takes.
I love it.
Listen, you're talking to the man who thought 13-win Jets was a thing this year.
Right.
Oh, you didn't show the folks what you made for that.
Oh yeah, sorry folks out there. I made my little
in typical Jets fashion.
My little 13-win sad face mask.
He's got the sad bag, guys.
Sad bag because us depressed Jet fans out here.
The sad bag lives.
13 wins my ass.
Don't worry, the sag bag will be timestamped.
Yeah, the sad bag will be definitely timestamped.
I love it. Let's move to Denver, where the Atlanta Falcons come to take on the Denver Broncos. John, who you got for this one?
What was it? Denver Broncos versus
the Falcons in Denver.
In Denver. Ooh. Once again, it's one of those ones that I gotta think about this one for a second. Honestly, give me the Falcons. I like the Falcons. Falcons are a solid team. Bijan has been, in my opinion, very solid at the run game. You like that. Kirk Cousins is just a dog down in Georgia. I think he in a different life was born in Georgia. I would have to say. But yeah, Bijan, Drake London, overall good offense, decent defense. I would say it's above average, but over still a young Bo Nix Denver Broncos team. They still got their kinks to work out, trying to figure out themselves. So I definitely give me the Falcons this week.
CP, who you got?
I almost wanted to talk this game as like a wild card third rounder. This game could really turn out to be like a game of the week type.
It could be. I could see this one being a high-scoring game.
This game could really turn out to be some fireworks. Give me the Falcons, but my eyes are definitely on Denver. I feel Bo Nix can and will lead that franchise to a lot of wins. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Atlanta with how they're evolving into this zone rush powerhouse of a team with Kirk Cousins at the helm.
Oh yeah. I love this matchup of this Atlanta offense versus this Denver defense. Denver actually has the second best defense in the league right now. They are absolutely they're quietly having a great defensive year, and Kirk Cousins is just on fire with the Falcons. He's really found a good home and has really made the extra effort to establish that chemistry with his young players. So, but I'm going to take the Broncos to win this game. I like their defense a little, maybe a little too much, but let's not forget too, they were just a blocked field goal away last week from beating the Chiefs.
Right.
Yeah.
They were in that game. So Sean Payton's got them playing and playing hard. So I'll take the Broncos. Speaking of the Chiefs, this was the game that I kind of wanted to talk about. The Chiefs-Bills. And I know you, CP, you and I, we talked about this matchup plenty of times over the last couple of years. But obviously this time is a little different. It's a little different than what it's been in years past, but this could be another good game of the week. So CP, I come to you first. Who you got for this one?
I put my faith in the Bills to put the blemish on Kansas City. With the way things are turning out, this very well may be the only team left on their schedule that can put that blemish on that schedule.
Yeah.
Well, they play the Steelers and the Texans as well, so those teams could possibly as well. But
It all depends on Sunday when it comes to the Steelers, and
Mhm.
that's the truth. Depends on how we walk away from you guys.
That's true.
Yeah,
That is true.
if the Steelers can beat the Ravens, then I definitely see them putting up a fight against the Chiefs. But
Right.
yeah,
John, who you got for this one?
the NFL's rigged for the Chiefs. It's plain and simple. They love Taylor Swift. They love Travis Kelce. The refs just love Patrick Mahomes. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the meme the other day. Patrick Mahomes asking the ref, "Hey, let me know when the
I
I
heard
saw
the
that.
audio
Yes,
leak
I
of
heard
that,
that,
actually.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, he's probably joking around, but like, you're making it seem like it's so scripted for
You're
you.
playing with fire there, pal. It's like
Yeah.
you're really playing with fire.
Yeah.
So, on that note, I could see the Chiefs going undefeated this year and winning the whole thing, and just being like another fucking
Could you
goddamn
imagine an
year.
undefeated three-peat?
Well,
Oh my
it would-
God,
at that-
I would actually go insane if that happened.
I would lose my mind if it was an undefeated three-peat this year.
I don't want to get into that. That's just so speculative, man. If it
that's a
comes, we'll
lot.
talk about that. And if that is if they walk into the Super Bowl undefeated, John, I fully expect you to hop on that episode with
Right.
this.
Yeah.
If it happens, you got to come on and we got for our Super Bowl episode.
we gotta get you on for that. But for
Because
this
what the
definitely
fuck?
I'll be there for that one.
Please.
Trust that.
please, for this week though, I'm gonna take the Bills as well. I think that if the Bills put up 30 points, and their offense is more than capable of, I don't think the Chiefs' offense is capable enough to score 30 points. They've been
Not
really
consistently this year.
they've been really struggling this year. So I think the Bills, and this is in Buffalo too, this is probably the best chance to put that blemish on their record. So I'm going to take the Bills to upset the Chiefs. Actually, I think the Bills are favorite in betting parlors, but we don't do by spreads here. But let's move to the Sunday night primetime game. Another fantastic game. The Bengals against the Chargers. What a game this is. So, John, I go to you, my friend. Who you got for this one?
Oh, Bengals Chargers. Were they playing in Cincinnati or
LA.
in LA?
Could have some nice weather.
That is some nice weather. Honestly, I like what the Chargers have over there with Harbaugh and Herbert. Herbert's been playing like like I believe like a home win is what exactly they need. And the Bengals, they're in your division. You guys know they've been good in the past, but this year has just kind of been iffy. And once again, going into their offensive line problems, it's just always been a factor for their team that's never really gone away. And I could definitely see the Chargers defense taking advantage of that very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
John, there's a little saying on this podcast that I'm going to tune you into. Help me. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck the Bengals.
Fuck the Bengals.
Fucking bumcats.
I respected.
Fuck the Bengals.
Fuck the Bengals. But unfortunately this week, I'm picking them to win. Simply because the Chargers still have yet to form a 2-minute game.
Yeah, and
that is their Achilles heel for years now when it comes to that offense. They cannot close out a game. You have to play the full fourth quarter, and they come the 2-minute warning. They don't have a 2-minute drill on defense. If a team's running down the field for a comeback score, they let it happen. And if they need a comeback drive, they fall short. And the Bengals are that team where you don't want to be close to them late in the game. You don't want the score to be close come late because they can just bite you and they'll win.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this game since looking at it. I'm just like, oh man. if the Chargers are to win this game, I think that this really puts Jim Harbaugh really back on the map. Like, it really puts him and Justin Herbert back on the map. Be like, hey, look, we're here to compete. Because despite the Bengals still losing, everyone thinks that they're probably the best worst team, if that makes any sense. Where
Yeah.
like they're still a competitive, and it's like it's a feat to beat them, right? I mean, hell, it took Lamar 2 Herculean efforts to even beat them this year. And that's a lot of years off my life that I'm never going to get back from those games. But both teams are flawed teams, but still competitive teams. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think that this game, if there's ever a game to really kind of really invigorate the life of Chargers fans, I think that's this game. Sunday night primetime, Herbert, Burrow, two flawed teams with excellent quarterbacks at the helm under great head coaches. I think that this game has a lot of potential to be potential game of the week in a week filled with games of the week.
Yeah, we got the Falcons game, we got this game, the Chiefs game, the Steelers game, Steelers Ravens game. Like, we got a lot of good games this
There's
week.
a lot of good games this week. I'm a lot of what looks to be pain games, but a lot of good games too. But let's go back to the pain train for one last time. Let's move into Dallas for the Monday night primetime game. All aboard the pain train. The Houston Texans come to play the Dallas Cowboys. CP, who you got? Cowboys, right?
This game should be moved with the Steelers-Ravens game. This Steelers-Ravens should be slated for prime time, and this game should be moved to 1 o'clock. Because no one's going to want to watch this game. This game's going to be a fucking snooze.
Unless you live in Texas, this ain't the game.
Houston's literally just coming to collect from Dallas. We allow you to play in the same state as us. We're coming to make our city collection. Come on.
Oh man, John, who you got?
Yeah, no. Even with the struggles the Texans have had past couple of weeks, the Cowboys are so bad. They've been bad for so long. They're like the Jets, kind of. They've been bad for so long, and they will look like they never are getting better. Like we mentioned before, Jerry Jones being the owner, manager, scout, like everything, like that's just is ruining the franchise. Them thinking Dak is the savior, that's not the answer either. Yeah, you got CeeDee Lamb, but you're probably like Garrett Wilson with the Jets, probably wasting his talent with incompetence to your team. So Houston's going to come in. CJ Stroud's going to look great, in my opinion. Nico Collins, I think, is coming back from IR. Tank Dell. Stefan's out for the season, but still with Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon, going to have a great rushing game. Like, that's one thing they can capitalize is that rushing game. And I do think they will be taking the W. And it's in Dallas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in Dallas. Houston winning in Dallas.
Yeah, they're just showing up to collect.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny too because that in years, I guess like for many years, it was Dallas collecting on the Texans.
Oh, yeah.
Now, tables have turned.
Yeah.
It's the Texans.
The turntables.
the younger brother finally had a growth spurt.
Right. Younger brother found a gym membership.
Exactly. So I'm gonna take the Texans to beat the Cowboys. I don't think this comes as any surprise to anyone.
Not at all. All right. Well, I think I'm not gonna lie. My battery's on like 20%.
That was the final game, right?
Yep, that was the final game.
Sorry, my phone's dead. I usually track the games and my phone died. Well, there you have it, guys.
My thing's on 20%, so I'm definitely gonna have to probably log off.
Of course.
Yeah. There you have it, John. Thank you so much. There's our picks for the week. Jets, Colts. We spoke about that. John, thank you so much. If you ever want to come back, please just let us know.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, man. We had such a great time.
Thank you guys for having me. I know Chris mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, yeah, I would love to talk. He was like, Jets, Colts. I was like, oh, do I really have to talk about the Jets today?
Please, everyone, just stay tuned for part 1. This is part 2 of our episode. We still have the Steelers and Ravens to talk.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Like I said,